Certainly see.
Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Olive, Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, of Yahshua, we thank you, Yah, for such a joyous day, Yah, for your Chag Sukkah, Yah, your Feast of Tabernacles, Yah, bringing us into your 8-day feast, Yah, for you said in 7 days things are complete, and the 8th day is a new creation, Yah, and you've given us this day, which is a celebration day, which is a holy day, a day for us to celebrate and to scream aloud, Yah, and to have joy, and to proclaim your glory on this earth, Yah. You have commanded us, since you are such a merciful Elohim, you told us for 8 days straight to party, Yah. And we're so thankful, Yah, that you allow us such a joyous moment. And as we keep this holy convocation, this Kodesh Maker that you commanded us, Yah, and we prepare to come before you, for all males must appear 3 times in a year, first being in Feast of Unleavened Bread, second being in Pentecost, and third being in your Feast of Tabernacles, Yah, 3 times a year, Yah. We ask that you accept our person, Yah, as we represent our nation and our families coming before you, Yah. Yah, these things we thank and pray through your holy, humble, anointed Son, not only for us, Yah, but for all the children across the 4 corners of the earth that gather to the best of their abilities to keep these holy days, Yah, to show you this sign that we are your children, Yah. These things we thank and pray through your holy, humble, anointed Son, Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, she hadn't delved into the Torah. Don't be speaking on stuff.
That'd be the crucial one.
He was like, I got it.
Get 15 great blasts off camera and then. All right. All right, shalom, Shabbat shalom. My name is Day1 Yasharal. I'm my brother Wesley Yasharal. Shabbat shalom, fam. And we are in our Chag Sukkah, which is Feast of Tabernacles 2019. It is the first day. It is an 8-day feast with 7 days that we dwell in booths. It is literally a commanded 8-day party. The Most High gave us the first day as a Sabbathon, where we treat it like a Sabbath. We don't work. It's a holiday. And then the 8th day is also a holiday. What's also special is on this first day is the appearances, where all males appear. 3 times a year, all males appear before Yah, and you may not appear empty-handed. And the best offering that you can offer is you're offering yourself as a living sacrifice. When we're in our land, we would physically offer something through the priests, through the Levitical order, but through Yahshua being the head and us being the body, we offer ourselves. So all males must appear before Yah 3 times a year, and this is the 3rd appearance of the year. So we're going to get right in it. We're going to go ahead and have a quick class. After we finish the class, we have our appearance. All males will appear before Yah, and then we will have our tabernacling. We'll go ahead and hang out in the tent and dwell in the tent and sleep in the tent. So we're going to open up first in Leviticus, Wayakra, chapter 23, and we're going to read the law of tabernacles, verses 39 through 44. Leviticus chapter 23. And Leviticus 23, by the way, gives you all the holy days of Yah, even including the Shabbat. So if it's not in Leviticus 23, it's not Yah's holy day. Doesn't mean that it's wicked to deal with it if it's concerning Yah and it's concerning the children of Israel. It doesn't mean that it's bad because it's not in Leviticus 23. But Leviticus 23 has all of Yah's appointed feasts. So Leviticus, Wayakra, chapter 23, and verses 39 through 44.
Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep a feast unto Yahweh 7 days. On the first day shall be a Shabbat, and on the 8th day shall be a Shabbat.
Wow. So 7-day feast. On the first day is a Shabbat, and the 8th day is a Shabbat. So this is something different. Typically it's 7 days to completion, but this is now talking about the 8th day, almost like the 8th day man. Go ahead. Being circumcised on the 8th day, a new thing, a nation. Go ahead.
And you shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim 7 days. And you shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in the booths.
All right, so you should dwell in booths 7 days. So 7 days straight are you supposed to dwell in the booths, but there's 8 days. It's an 8-day feast day, but 7 days is a feast. And the first day is a Sabbathon, and the 8th day is a Sabbathon. Go ahead.
That your generations may know that I made the children of Yasharal to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh your Elohim. And Moshe declared unto the children of Yasharal the feast of Yahweh.
All right, so the word for booths is Sukkah. And that's why it is Chag Sukkah. It is the feast of booths, Sukkah. And that's H5521. Sukkah is spelled Sukkah. And that's a hut or lair, booth, cottage, covert, pavilion, tabernacle, tent. So it's something you put up temporary. It's not something that is permanent. And you are to dwell in those booths. So what does dwell mean? Well, the Hebrew word is yashab, which is H3427. That's important because you have people say, oh, you got to stay in it all night, every day for 7 days straight. And then you have other people that says, well, you just need to dwell in it. So what is the definition? The definition is properly to sit down, by implication to dwell, to remain, causatively to settle, to marry, to abide, continue, ease self, endure, establish, habitation, inhabit, make to keep, lurking, marry, place, remain, so forth and so on. So it is to stay for a specific amount of time. Now, does it mean that you have to sleep in there? It doesn't say anything in here that about having to sleep in the booths for 7 days straight. that's something that we do as a tradition, but it says properly to sit down, to dwell, to remain. Now, if you're going to use this to say that you got to remain there the whole time, then that would mean you got to stay in there 7 days straight and can't come outside of the tent. And it doesn't say to do that as well. So let's look at this appearance that we have to meet. Let's go to Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 16. So right now we're really just getting into the law. It's an 8-day holy day, ending of this holy day. So throughout for the Shabbat and for the last Sabbathon, we'll go deeper because the 8th day has a very deep meaning. So right now we're going to really take a look at the law, and we're going to see two important figures that kept tabernacles. One that is prior to Moses keeping tabernacles, and one after Moshe keeping tabernacles. So we're going to Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we're just going to read verses 13 through 17.
Deuteronomy, Devarim chapter 16 and verses 13. You shall observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days after you have gathered in your corn and your wine.
All right, so this is the type of offering that you would be making. You would be offering corn and wine during this season. Go ahead.
And you shall rejoice in your feast, you and your son and your daughter and your manservant and your maidservant and the Levite and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow that are within your gates. 7 days you shall keep a solemn feast unto Yahweh your Elohim in the place which Yahweh shall choose, because Yahweh your Elohim shall bless you in all your increase and in all your works of your hands. Therefore you shall surely rejoice.
Praise.
Hallelujah.
3 times in a year shall all your males appear before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before Yahweh empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you.
All right, so it says every man shall give as he is able, and no man shall show up before Yahweh empty. You don't show up before a king without a gift. When you go in the White House, you see all the stuff that they got from all these foreign countries. They got that from people visiting the King of America, which we call a president, and they give gifts. So there's different offerings that you did these 3 times because these are 3 seasons. So you offer your first fruits during the beginning of these seasons for each one of these harvests. So this harvest is corn and wine. So you would offer your first fruit offering for corn and wine, but then you have these 3 times when you also appear before Yah. And when you appear before Yah, this is according to how you're able, what he blesses you. Versus the first fruit offerings is a sheaf. It's like a omer or something like that, a specific amount that you offer of your produce versus this free will offering, which you're offering off of your own free will as you are able. All right. So now when you look at these words that they're using, feast, you shall keep a feast. And it's also, you shall have a feast. So feast is Hag. So feast of tabernacle is Hag Sukkah. Feast is H2282. That's spelled C-H-A-G, Hag. And that's a festival or victim, therefore. Sacrifice of solemnity. So that's the feast. Like you will have a feast on the first day and you will have a feast on the 8th day. And then you have the actual, you have that festival, which is the whole festival of the 8 days. That's what Hag stands for. The whole festival of Sukkah. And then now when you're keeping the actual feast day, which is the first day, which is today, then that is Hagag. Hagag, which is C-H-A-G-A-G. That's H2287. And that's properly to move in a circle. That's to march in a sacred procession, to observe a festival, by invocation to be giddy, to celebrate, to dance, to feast, to reel to and fro. That's your feast day. That's when you celebrate and you joy and you do all of that. So now we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go into Jubilees and we're going to look at Abraham actually keeping Feast of Tabernacles. Abraham is keeping Feast of Tabernacles. So think about that for a second. How is Abraham keeping Feast of Tabernacles? Because you have Abraham, Isaac, then Jacob. Then Jacob had the 12 sons. Then the 12 sons of the 12 sons, the third son was Levi. Then Levi had sons and sons and sons till he had Moses. Then Moses gave us the law for tabernacles. So how is Abraham keeping tabernacles? Simple. Let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. This righteousness, this spirit of obedience, this spirit of Israel, this blessing which was passed from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob was being passed down. Noah had it, and Noah passed it on. Enoch had it, Enoch passed it on, and it went so forth and so forth down until it got to Abraham, down until it got to Moshe giving us the dispensation of the law. So let's go to Jubilees, Yobelum, the book of Jubilees, and we're going to go to chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 12 through 31. Now, if you don't have access to Jubilees, you can always go on the website and you can see the books, all the books that we have. You'll have access to those.
Jubilees, Yobelum, chapter 16 and verse 13.
12 through 31.
Oh, yeah.
Yobelum chapter 16, verses 12 through 31.
And in the middle of the 6th month, Yahweh visited Sarah and did unto her as he had spoken, and she conceived. And she bare a son in the 3rd month, and in the middle of the month, at the time of which Yahweh had spoken to Abraham, on the festival of the first fruits of the harvest, Yishak was born. And Abraham circumcised his son on the 8th day. He was the first that was circumcised according to the covenant which is ordained forever. And in the 6th year of the 4th week, we came to Abraham to the well of the oath, and we appeared unto him, as we had told Sarah that we should return to her, and she would have conceived a son. And we returned in the 7th month, and found Sarah with child before us, and we blessed him, and we announced to him all things which had been decreed concerning him, that he should not die till he should beget 6 sons more, and should see them before he died. But that in Yishak should his name and seed be called.
All right, so in chapter 14, he said he was circumcised on the 8th day. And then also, verse 13 also says she bare a son in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month. So what happens the 3rd month in the middle of the month? Includes another appearance.
11.
No, 3rd month. 11 is the 1st month. What happens in the 3rd month?
Pentecost.
That's right, Pentecost. In Pentecost, or Shabuah, or Shabbat, this is when you have your feast. You have your appearance, the 2nd appearance. So you actually see him having his son being born on that festival day. First fruits. And then you see in the 7th month. Go ahead.
And that all the seed of his son should be Gentiles, and be reckoned with the Gentiles. But from the sons of Yishak, one should become a holy seed, and should not be reckoned among the Gentiles. For he should become the portion of the Most High, and all his seed had fallen into the possession of Elohim, that it should be unto Yahweh a people for his possession, above all nations, and that it should become a kingdom and priest and a holy nation. And we went our way, and we announced to Sarah all that we had told him, and they both rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And he built there an altar to Yahweh, who had delivered him, and who was making him rejoice in the land of his sojourning. And he celebrated a festival of joy this month 7 days, near the altar which he had built at the well of the oath. And he built booths for himself and for his servants on this festival. And he was the first to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles on the earth.
So he's the first to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles on the earth. 7 days he's keeping this feast in the 7th month. But let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. So there's these appearances and there's these first fruits offerings that are happening 3 times a year, and it's being passed down. The blessing is being passed down from Abraham, then to Isaac, and then the rest of the nations of Abraham said that they're going to be Gentiles. They're going to be Gentile nations. And now it's being passed down all the way to Israel, all the way into us. And we are that blessing. That blessing is being passed to us. And now we're keeping those holy days according to the calendar that the ancients were using. Not a lunar calendar, which doesn't add up. A lunar calendar only has 354 days. Or if you go 13 moons, it has 380 something days. One is way too short and one is way too long. But the ancients understood because Enoch understood these things. Noah understood these things. And Abraham understands to keep this feast day in booths, which literally means Sukkah. So you have Abraham literally keeping Feast of Tabernacles. Go ahead.
And as a thank offering, 7 rams, 7 kids, 7 sheep, and 7 he-goats, and their fruit offerings and their drink offerings. And he burnt all the fat thereof on the altar, a chosen offering unto Yahweh for a sweet-smelling savor. And morning and evening he burnt fragrant substances, frankincense, and galbanum, and stacked, and nard, and myrrh, and spice, and costum. All these 7 he offered, crushed, mixed together in equal parts, and pure. And he celebrated this feast during 7 days, rejoicing with all his heart and with all his soul. He and all those who were in his house, and there was no stranger with him, nor any that was uncircumcised. And he blessed his Creator, who had created him in his generation, for he had created him according to his good pleasure. For he knew and perceived from him would arise the plan of righteousness for the eternal generations, and from him a holy seed, so that it should become like him who had made all things.
And he blessed his Creator. You know, usually the Creator blesses you. So how are you blessing the Creator? You making an offering. I'm blessing you. Hey, bless me with something. You bless him. You give him a blessing, you pray, or you bless him with something. So he's blessing his Creator. He's offering a free will to his Creator. Go ahead.
This is a question. Would the plan of righteousness, would that refer to the Mashiach? Or is that something referring to something else?
Mm-hmm. And perceive that from him would arise the plan of righteousness. Amen. The seed, the holy seed. All the way into Mashiach, which would come out the loins of Abraham. Go ahead.
Verse 27. And he blessed and rejoiced, and he called the name of this festival the festival of Yahweh, a joy acceptable to the Most High Elohim. And we blessed him forever, and all his seed after him throughout all the generations of the earth, because he celebrated this festival in its season, according to the testimony of heavenly tablets.
All right, and Yah blessed him forever, and all his seed after him throughout all the generations of the earth, because he celebrated this festival in its season, according to the testimony of the heavenly tablets. So what's the heavenly tablets? Anybody? What's the heavenly tablets?
The stars.
The stars. The sky is the heavenly tablets. The heaven. The sky is the heaven. Above the sky where it's space, that's the second heaven. And where Yah dwells is the third heaven. The waters above the waters, and above that is the third heaven. So the heavenly tablets is the stars, because in each season, when we had Teruah, which is trumpets, that started the fall season, and which means a new constellation was going to come in. And every month a new constellation comes in. So according to those constellations in the sky and the light duration, which Enoch tells us, it's a certain amount of day and a certain amount of night, which gives you a light duration, that determines the beginning of the month, the beginning of the season, and those days are counted according to the holy day calendar, Leviticus 23, to tell you when to keep your feast days. Go ahead.
For this reason, it is ordained on the heavenly tablets concerning Yasharal, that they shall celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days with joy in the 7th month, acceptable before Yahweh, a statute forever throughout their generations every year.
So if it's a statute forever, does it mean that it stops once you go into captivity, or when they went into captivity previously? Does it stop?
No.
Forever don't stop. Forever means forever. Now, we can't be in Jerusalem right now forever because we're not in Jerusalem. So we can't do certain rites of these things, certain animal sacrifices. We don't have the Levites to conduct that. We're not in Jerusalem, in a place which he chose. So we can't do that. But we observe these things forever because Abram is observing this before the dispensation of this law. He's observing it. He's memorializing.
And to this there is no limit of days, for it is ordained forever regarding Yasharah that they should celebrate it and dwell in booths and set wreaths upon their heads and take leafy boughs and willows from the brook. And Abraham took branches of palm trees and the fruit of goodly trees, and every day going round the altar with the branches 7 times a day. In the morning he praised and gave thanks to his Elohim for all things enjoyed.
Hallelujah. So that's why you see in the Leviticus 23, it tells us we got to get bows and leaves, and we got to put them on the tent, and we got to celebrate, make it nice, joyous. It's a celebration. We give an honor. Now you know we got to be at the Most High. What kind of God commands his children to party? Like, look, I'm giving y'all days where I command you to party. That's what these feast days are. The only feast day we don't party is one day out the whole year. Atonement. That's it. Even the Shabbat is a party. It's a celebration, but it's joy for him. It's not a celebration for us. It's a celebration for him. All right, let's go to the conclusion. Now we're going to see Yahshua keeping tabernacles. Let's go to Yohanan, John chapter 7 for the conclusion.
Interesting that this takes place in chapter 7.
Right, in the 7th month. Circumcised, he's talking about circumcising on the 8th day. Then he later talks about an 8-day feast. Or a season of 8 days, a festival season of 8 days. It's a 7-day feast, but it's a festival of 8 days. Yohanan, John, chapter 7, and we're going to start this at verse 1. Now, what you're going to see here is you're going to see Yahshua he's being threatened, but yet he's still showing up and keeping the holy day. We're not under threat. What's our excuse? Disbelief or ignorance, one or the other.
John chapter 7, Yohanan, and verse 1. After these things, Yahshua walked in Galilee, where he would not walk in Jewry, because the Jews, Yahudi, sought to kill him. Now the Yahudi feast of Tabernacles was at hand. His brethren therefore said unto him, Depart hence, and go into Judea, that your disciples also may see the works that you do. For there is no man that does anything in secret, and he himself seeks to be known openly. If you do these things, show yourself to the world.
All right, so now he could not go in Jewry, which is like Judea, which is the kingdom of Judah, the southern kingdom, because at this time the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom is split apart. So the northern kingdom, Israelites had already been scattered into, the different parts of Africa and into Europe and all that. And the southern kingdom is the last bit of the Yehudim, of the Israelites that are still in Israel. So he could not go in that part because they were trying to kill him. And notice he says the Yehudim Feast of Tabernacles was at hand. Why it couldn't just be Feast of Tabernacles? Because they keep in different days than Yahshua. But you're going to still see Yahshua show up because even the appearance of evil is wicked.
Verse
Can you get the door?
5. For neither did his brethren believe in him. Then Yahshua said unto them, My time is not yet come, for your time is always ready.
So they didn't believe in him. They're like, man, you ain't finna show up. You scared. You ain't finna do that. They finna kill you. Go ahead.
The world cannot hate you, but me it hates, because I testify of it, that the works thereof are evil.
So if they hated him because he testified, which means he spoke out that their works are evil because they're adverse, Shabbat Shalom, Aki,
Shabbat shalom.
because they're adverse to the word, then what you think they're going to do to us when we do the same thing, when we flawed individuals that transgress and we tell folks, look, this is against righteousness. They going to hate us too. We're in John chapter 7 for the conclusion, and we're at verse 8.
Go you up unto this feast. I go not up yet unto this feast, for my time is not yet full come. When he had said these words unto them, he abode still in Galilee. But when his brethren were going up, then went he also up unto the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret.
So he came as in secret. So he, was he scared? They're trying to kill him. He said point blank, look, he couldn't even go around Judea because the Yehudim sought to kill him. And they're not expecting him to show up to Tabernacles. So people is talking like, is he going to show up? He going to keep the law? So he shows up, but he shows up in secret. So let's see how he operates.
Then the Yehudim sought him at the feast and said, where is he? And there was much murmuring among the people concerning him. For some said, he is a good man. Others said, nay, but he deceived the people. Howbeit no man spake openly of him for fear of the Yehudim. Now about the midst of the feast, Yahshua went up into the temple and taught.
There you go. That's the spirit. That's the spirit of Israel. They trying to kill this man. And he goes to the feast on the feast day, then goes up and teaches. He's not going to stop his work because you got a problem with it. You want to kill him because he understands nothing is going to happen to him until it's his time. So this is how we have to operate in this word. It doesn't mean he went he went in secret. He was obviously wise as a serpent and didn't go in there, so that they could have pulled him around the back and killed him. But he made sure he went in secret so they couldn't pull him aside out of nowhere and stab him up in the back or whatever. And then when everybody was present, so everybody know he was there, he went up in front of everybody and then taught. And this is Feast of Tabernacles.
Now about the midst of the feast, Yahshua went up into the temple and taught. And the Yahudim marveled, saying, how knows this man letters, having never learned?
How does he know these Torah? How does he know the Torah? How does he know these prophets? How does he know these things? And he's not with the Sanhedrin. He wasn't taught by the Pharisees. At this time, for you to have a physical copy of the Torah, you know what you'd have to do? You'd have to have a scribe that could sit there and literally write all this thing down for you. Which you'd have money to buy the pages, to buy the ink, to do that. A carpenter ain't finna have that kind of money. And then furthermore, if you had it, you have to know how to read Hebrew and write Hebrew and do all this stuff. It would have been Aramaic at this time, which is a Syrian dialect. How did he know this stuff? Go ahead.
Yahshua answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of Elohim or whether I speak of myself. He that speaks of himself seeks his own glory, but he that seeks his glory that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. Did not Moshe give you the law, and yet none of you keep the law? Why go you about to kill me? The people answered and said, you have a devil. Who goes about to kill you? Yahshua answered and said unto them, I have done one work, and you all marvel. Moshe therefore gave unto you the circumcision, not because it is of Moshe, but of the fathers. And you on the Shabbat day circumcise a man. If a man on the Shabbat day receives circumcision, that the law of Moshe should not be broken, are you angry at me because I have made a man every whit whole on the Shabbat day?
So why would somebody get circumcised on the Shabbat? Because that's work. You're doing work. You circumcise. But why would somebody happen to get circumcised on the Shabbat?
That was the 8th day?
It was the 8th day. So if the 8th day just happened to be for you on the Shabbat because of the day that you were born, then you got to get circumcised. But you're not supposed to be doing the work. So what's the weight of your matter? Go ahead.
Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment.
Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. How are you going to have righteous judgment if you don't even know what the law is to begin with? You don't even understand what the commandment is, but you're going to, my heart going to tell me which way to go. No, your heart going to tell you what's going to feel best to your flesh. So you have to learn the law first, learn what's right and wrong as your framework. And then now you apply, not according to the appearance, but according to righteousness. What's righteousness? My ox is in a ditch, but it's the Shabbat. Now I can't do it. That's work. I can't lift him out. He in a ditch. You going to let the animal die because it's the Shabbat? Now, do you seek to go get your animal? Well, if ox in a ditch, you got to get him out. But then you use that as an excuse to go get your ox and go out there and go ox and plow your yard? That's not the same thing. Go ahead.
Then said some of them of you, is not this he whom they seek to kill? But lo, he speaks boldly, and they say nothing unto him. Do the rulers know indeed that this is the very Howbeit we know this man whence he is, but when Mashiach comes, no man knows whence he is. Then cried Yeshua in the temple as he taught, saying, You both know me, and you know whence I am, and I am not come of myself, but he sent me is true, whom you know not. But I know him, for I am from him, and he has sent me. Then they sought to take him, but no man laid hands on him. His hour was not yet come.
His hour was not yet come. Every one of us has, and that hour belongs to the Most High. He knows that day. We don't know that day. So if you're going to have some kind of boldness, have boldness in doing his works and standing for his righteousness, because that hour is going to come. And when that hour comes, you can't avoid it. You can't skip it. You can't pause it. You can't. At the end of the day, there's a story of one lady that literally at the Empire State Building jumped out of the Empire State Building. Look this up. The woman literally jumped off the top of the Empire State Building and the wind blew her back inside and she didn't die. Now, I don't know if any one of us want to try that. I mean, hey, I hope y'all would stop me from doing something or save me, but at the end of the day, we don't tempt Elohim. But it wasn't that woman's hour. Finish up that last verse.
And many of the people believed on him and said, When Mashiach comes, will he do more miracles than these which this man has done?
So people's like, man, if he not Christ, if he not the Mashiach, then who is? How many people coming that's doing miracles like this? So Shabbat Shalom, Mashiahu. Good to see you, brother, down there in IGA in Augusta. All right, so that's all we're going to do today. We just wanted to get a quick overview of tabernacles. We showed that Abraham kept tabernacles. We're showing that Yeshua kept tabernacles. And we see the law pertaining to tabernacles. And we know that all males must appear before Yah. And it also says, present yourself as a living sacrifice, acceptable and pleasing unto Elohim. So that's what he wants. He's a living Elohim. He wants a living sacrifice. So that living sacrifice, he don't say, I want you to die for me. When he wanted you to die for him, he sent his son. He said, look, my son going to die for me. He going to die for you. But that's what I sent him here to do. And those that were sent to die, like the 144 that, people that were sent to be beheaded for the Mashiach or so forth and so on, those people. But for us, we are supposed to live for him. And Yeshua gave us that example how to live for him. We don't worship the book of the dead. We don't read the book of the dead. We worship the book of life. We worship through the book of life, the Savior word of Yah, and we worship the Elohim of the living. So we make a living sacrifice. So all males must appear, which means all the males are supposed to go before Yah, and you make your offering unto Yah, which is your free will offering according to what he has given you. So that's all we're going to do today. Unless we have any questions, we're going to go ahead and go into our appearance, where all the males will go make our appearance before Yah. Then we'll have our feast, and then we'll go ahead and tabernacle. So do you have any questions here?
No.
All right. Hallelujah. So let's go ahead and end in a prayer. Fresh, boy. Kodash fresh.
Nice to you.
Brother West, can you close us out in prayer, please?
Father, Yah, covenant Elohim of Abraham, Yishak, and Yaakov. Thank you, Father Yah, for allowing us to observe your Chag Sukkah Tabernacles, Father Yah. We know, Father Yah, that you have commanded us, Father Yah, to rejoice. So I ask you, Father Yah, please help us celebrate this holy day of yours with a joyful heart, Father Yah. And please let us reflect on your goodness, Father Yah. And please let us give us a heart to see all the good things that you are doing in our lives, Father Yah, and that you are doing for us, Father Yah. Let us rejoice in your mercy and your grace. In Yahshua HaMashiach's holy mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
They joke, they fight them.